Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
Okay, so yes. Okay, so now we're in the messy middle, as Google would say, and there's kind of a cluster of things we wanted to talk about. Um, first up, today or yesterday actually, Microsoft announced what it's calling Bing Generative Search, and initially people sort of the immediate reaction was, well, this is Bing's version of Google's AI overviews. And I looked at it, and the answer is actually no. It's more like the AI organized pages, or at least the example that Microsoft gave, that that Google sort of teased at Google I/O and in related blog posts. So the whole page being kind of generated in a bespoke way, as they would say, for the query. Kind of organizing things according to some AI understanding of the query. And the example given in the Bing blog post is, what is a spaghetti western? And the striking thing, beyond the fact that the page seems to be organized by AI, is that there's tons and tons of links in there, tons of branding, tons of links. It's not like the AI overview, which Google has sort of been pushing links into and trying to make the branding more prominent in response to complaints. I could see SEOs really welcoming these pages because they're going to drive clicks. There's a lot, and Microsoft says these pages do drive clicks. It's right now in a sort of a very limited beta, but it was just quite interesting because it's sort of what this should be, rather than sort of pushing all the organic results down the page.
I think it looks way better. I think it's a easier transition from what search was to what Google's done with the AI overviews. And I like it way better. I agree with you that SEOs will like it better. I think that Google might benchmark and learn from what Bing is doing there. But also, so I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but I'm just going to drop this idea in there. I think that AI overviews are much closer to a voice interaction, and that's where Google wants to be, versus what we're seeing from Bing is still screen necessary.
Right. I mean, it looks like, unless you knew this was a sort of an AI organized page, you wouldn't know it was. I mean, it looks like a sort of a conventional search result, and it's just full of links. I mean, just everywhere. It didn't marginalize the links, so that was one of the striking things about it for me. Mike, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I haven't explored it that deeply, so anything I say would be total bullshit. So
I will leave that alone for the moment. But so let's talk also about Reddit, right? So there was some news this week that Reddit is only allowing Google to index its content and blocking everybody else. And I don't fully understand what the rationale for that was. Unauthorized scraping, or it was unhappy with something that other crawlers were doing. But it seems to be a direct outgrowth of the, whatever the number was, $60 million deal that Google, paid Reddit for access to its content to train AI, and also presumably to get a pipe for indexing. It just seems like blatant favoritism and sort of anti-competitive to me, on the surface at least.
I think everything Google has been doing recently seems so much more blatant.
Yeah.
Yes, they've ripped off all of the mirage or mirrors and smoke about their behavior.
Yeah,
Trying to buy HubSpot, whatever.
Yeah, it's like we're in the middle of the movie where the character you thought was a nice character is suddenly revealed to be the villain, or suddenly revealed to yeah.
That's exactly how I feel. I grew up in Texas, and in Texas, we would say something along the lines of don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. And I feel like that's what's happening here, is Google is just doing stuff that's blatantly bad, but saying, oh no, it's not bad, it's great. And they just expect people to buy it and be like, oh, okay, Google, it is great.
Yeah. My comment to Reddit is the same comment I made in a previous post: is when you sleep with elephants, you have to be really careful because they tend to roll over in the middle of the night. And Reddit is for $60 million. It's pocket change to Google, and I don't see it ending particularly well, regardless of their.
I mean, the irony I think for Reddit is that they went public. They've got all this new visibility on Google, or relatively new visibility on Google, and that brings with it spam, right? So that brings the ranking boost that they're getting brings the spammers out, which will compromise the user experience on Reddit, and it becomes a sort of a downward spiral. The more success you have in search, the more likely people are to spam you, and the more your user experience will degrade, over time.
But it's also core because it's training data.
Yeah.
And so it's not just spamming for one ranking, it's spamming for understanding, which is a whole different game.
Right. Yes. Yes. Depressing. So let's move on to voice search, unless you want to say something about the state of AI overviews for Google.
I don't like it.
Well, so what's interesting is, they were showing for 80+% of queries during the SGE Google Labs phase. Then they rolled them out. Then they got a lot of criticism, and Google's dialed them way back now, arguably, depending on whose numbers you look at, below 10%, or somewhere between like high single digits and low double digits. And so the question in my mind for this, just to digress into this for a minute, is like, are we going to see sort of an incremental return, sort of like the Apple Maps return from the wilderness over a period of years? Or are we going to see AI overviews on Google remain low, show for only a very low percentage of queries? What do you think is going to happen, Sydney?
Well, so I look at this a little bit differently. I always look at, or I try and look at Google's perspective as a business. And what I know is AI responses are expensive to generate. Yeah, and so they have to make money. And what Sundar said in the call yesterday was that AI overviews are driving engagement, which I'm sure he likes. But that's going to have to turn into cash at some point. And they're going to have to incorporate ads better, or it's just a play to get as much, like it's a land grab to get as much data about as many users as they possibly can, to add that into their models and cohort modeling in GA4. I don't know, but they're going to have to monetize it because it's so much more expensive than their normal way of doing things. And until they monetize it, I think they'll have to pull back because of costs. So they have to run smaller tests or focus on where they know they're going to make money. And for instance, like right now, I think we're seeing lots of Reddit. I think we're probably also seeing a lot more YouTube. And Google getting people from a search result over to YouTube is great because YouTube monetizes beautifully, right? People get stuck there forever, and Google's making money the whole time.
Except not as much as the analysts wanted on this for this last quarter. It fell a little bit short of their expectations. But yes, you're totally right. YouTube is completely annoying right now because absolutely every single video you watch has at the very, very minimum, I mean, many ads you can't skip. I'm seeing a lot of 2-ad kind of pre-roll scenarios. It really makes me not want to watch YouTube at all, and I'm not going to pay for Google YouTube Premium or whatever to get rid of the ads.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, or they're showing a merchant center result, and that's monetized too, right?
Yeah.
So what I've been saying, and you guys will appreciate this because I know you were at conferences where I talked about the micro moments. I think Google stopped talking about the 4 micro moments, but we're seeing them play out hardcore right now. I want to know, I want to go, I want to do, I want to buy. I want to buy as merchant center. I want to know as a regular search result with an AI overview. I want to go as maps, which they're trying really hard to monetize differently now. And what I want to know, I want to go, I want to do is YouTube. Do is I want to watch, I want to listen, I want to see, I want to learn. That's YouTube.
There's probably an internal deck that exactly expresses what you just said. I'm sure.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.